Hey guys, so in today's video I want to go over 3 of my biggest tips when it comes to ATV racing and how I feel like I improved and I wish I would have known when I was younger, that nobody really taught me or I didn't pick up on at least. So let's get right into the video. I would say tip number 1, and something that I did not learn all the way until going into pro class, was really how to use my rear brake. So I would say rear brake being tip number 1. If you are a rider coming up, or maybe you are already in Pro-Am, or maybe you're in Pro even, and you're pretty much front brake dominant, that was me. I literally did not use my rear brake the entire year of Pro-Am other than in the air. And I won the Pro-Am championship not touching the rear brake one time, but that limited me when I went to pro to try to get faster. I simply just struggled to improve and get faster until I learned that rear brake. Now, the reasons why, there's a few of them. I'd say firstly, when you're trying to come into a turn and you're only using front brake, no matter how stiff your front end is or how high your rake is, the bike is always going to just transfer to the front. So if you're like me and try to be pretty aggressive on entry speed and you're only relying on your front brake, it's simply just not enough stopping power. A lot of times now I'll use my front and rear on a ton of places where I used to only use fronts. This allows my bike to just be a little bit more neutral, a little less dive into the front. You can try to change your suspension to help with that type of stuff, but I've tried it all, and I just learned that I needed to get good with my rear brake there. So just a little bit more stopping power allows you to charge the turns a little bit harder, and keep that bike flatter in the turns. Second thing with the rear brake is, if you've ever pushed the rear brake while on the gas with no clutch, it'll load, it'll squat the rear end and also sound a little bit weird. Well, you actually have a lot of traction when you're doing this. If you ride hard pack tracks, which I'm a personal fan of, I used to ride them all with no rear brake at all. The second I learned my rear brake and understanding the traction that it gave me, instantly faster. I'd say as much as like 2 seconds a lap, and even more consistent. I wasn't spinning out as much. So trying to learn that rear brake, I'd say that it took me like 2 years to really learn it, to where I wouldn't stall in a race, or down in Florida I would stall my bike all the time in practice just learning it, because like I never had it, like my dad never taught me that stuff, or nobody ever taught me how to even use it with the clutch and whatnot. So just, it's gonna take time, but trying to learn the rear brake, really huge for my career. I feel like most, I don't know, even riding schools don't really talk about it that much, but learning that rear brake really helps on hard pack or any type of condition. But yeah, that's enough with the rear brake. Tip number 2 that I really think is huge for improvement in your career, is entry speed in turns. So everybody knows that it's jumps for show, corners for dough, but being real with that, the entry speed part of a turn for quads is really big. Dirt bikes, you'll watch, it's actually a little bit different. Dirt bikes, entry speed's not always king, to where I'd say in 90 to 95% of scenarios, entry speed on quads is king. Now, there's a fine line there, but it's really important to try to find that line. So, for example, like if I'm riding behind Chad Wienen. Chad Wienen's very good at, I wouldn't say having the best entry speed, but he also has a really good mid and exit speed. And specifically his exit speed is always phenomenal. To where I was more of a rider that would come in super hot, but then that would kind of ruin my mid and exit speed, just because I'm coming in too hot into the turn. So pushing yourself first thing to try to find the perfect balance of entry speed, but not pushing the turn. Now I know this might sound obvious, but a lot of people don't push themselves in the entry speed. They'll just stick to like stopping right here or stopping right here when I'm stopping way up here. So especially with amateurs when I'm watching them ride, they don't push themselves in the entry of the turn. You have front and rear brakes for a reason. And back to my step one, if you learn how to use the rear brake, it allows you to come in hotter and use both the brakes, more stopping power, which allows you to have more entry speed coming in. So entry speed is huge. It's something that we all work on every day that we're out of the track. But there's some tracks where I really early on, like, you know, if I'm on a Saturday at a practice track, if I go out for the very first time, I'll really find where that line is. I'll try to push myself into the entry speeds of the turns and find where the line is. If I'm coming in too hot to where I ruin the turn or not, or, you know, so, and this is all comes with comfort over time. But if you go to a track and you're just doing laps, like, and you really want to improve and you're on this video, it's simple. Just that needs to be a priority. Entry speed coming into turns. A lot of times there'll be braking bumps coming into turns. Well, work on attack position, work on front and rear brake, keeping your bike settled, and then that allows better entry speed. Jet Lawrence is super good at, real quick on braking bumps, if you watch Jet on a dirt bike, he will actually slow down before the biggest bumps on the entry, and then over that big bump he'll actually throttle or let the bike be fully settle to where he doesn't have it pack up in the rear. I used to be bad at just coming in super hot and then I'll brake on the biggest bump, which is terrible. That's what causes so much feedback. Now I'm really trying to think about coming in hot, letting up before that big bump, letting up just slightly. You don't need to come to a complete stop, but check up and then gas or let the bike settle over that bump, right? And almost kind of feel like you have a slipper clutch. If you know anything about slippers, like you want to keep the bike free. You don't want to have it tight, be in third gear, revved out or something like that, which I'll go over in a different video. So rear brake, entry speed, those kind of correlate together. Notice that. And the third thing, there's more than three here, but I just want to touch on three for this video. The third thing would be the clutch. Like, it's nuts, right? But even today is 2023, it's June. I'm still learning. I'm still learning on the clutch. Once again, I never really learned the clutch growing up. I raced the entire Pro-Am year without touching the clutch other than the whole shot, which is nuts. But now that I'm learning the clutch, it's insane the difference that it can make on exits of turns. So if you're hitting your entry good, your bike settle, and you're ready to get back on the gas on the exit of the turn, 90% of the time, I'd say, unless it's super dry, there's no reason why you don't reach for that clutch. There really isn't. Like, you'll watch a lot of my most recent videos on my Instagram where I'm posting and you can hear my engine. You'll hear on the exits, it'll go, like, you'll hear the RPMs like re-grab, like it's like a double clutch. Simply what this is doing is just getting you to the power. So if I come out of a turn and I'm not reaching for the clutch, it's either A, I'm tired, B, like kind of I'm lazy, I'm just being lazy. That's just not my A+ riding. Or C, maybe it is too slick, or maybe the turn isn't ready for that much power on the exit. But when there's like good ruts or good traction, and you're knowing that you can be on the gas, get into the mindset of maybe should I reach for the clutch here or not? But maybe try to, right? Coming out of turns, if you don't at least try or see, I feel like it's a big game changer. Like, I really do. I know it's helped my riding a ton, and it's helped my speed a ton. I used to be just lazy coming out of turns, and now that helped my exit speed a ton. So, I don't, the two-stroke, I can't really say with confidence. Talking on two-strokes, I know two-strokes you have to keep the RPM up anyway, but on a four-stroke specifically, I learned this watching Chad's videos, watching Joel's videos. I would hear him doing it, and I didn't know really what it was until I just learned for myself. So, yeah, those guys are really good at it. If I'm behind one of them or coming into a turn with them, and they just send me to Gapplebees on the exit of the turn, typically that would be why. They're where the traction is, so they know they can get on the gas, and they can get on the gas hard. And the way to get on the gas hard is using the clutch. I'm not saying pull it in wide open dump. I'm just saying feed it out, right? Like Eli Tomac talks about how much he loves to feed his clutch. It's feeding the clutch out with the throttle. Been a game changer for me. Hopefully from years down the road I learn it better and better and put all these pieces together. But I hope you guys liked the video. That was 3 of my biggest tips for improvement, whether you're C, B, A, Pro-Am, Pro, me, doesn't matter. 3 really big tips. Thank you guys for watching.